What's up, guys? It's Fantasy Football Anonymous here, ready to talk some Week 12 players that we love, some players that we do not like this week, and some players that might be a little bit sneaky plays for you. So we're going to go ahead and start with Schroeder.
All right.
Complain that we steal his guys.
You guys can't steal this week. Oh,
okay.
No. All right, let's go ahead and start at quarterback. My love of the week is Matt Ryan versus Tampa Bay. Matt Ryan hasn't been that good this year, guys. In fact, he's been a lot worse than people thought he was going to be after drafting him as a top 5 quarterback before the season began. But this is a prime matchup at home, and I think he's going to put up pretty easily over 20 points in the 4-point touchdown format and have a solid game. Next love for running back is DeMarco Murray against Indianapolis. DeMarco Murray also has had a rather disappointing year, minus that 1 week where he got 3 touchdowns a couple weeks ago. But Indianapolis is a team on down and down. And after a rough loss on Thursday night against a good Steelers team, this is going to be a team that's where he's finally fully rested. Hopefully he's starting to get healthy, and he has a good remaining schedule the rest of the way. And I hope this is the first game, and I think this is going to be the first game where he starts to take off and actually start to put up some points the rest of the year. My love at wide receiver is actually going to be T.Y. Hilton against Tennessee. If you know anything about me, you know I do not like T.Y. Hilton. However, he's still pretty good at fantasy every now and then. He'll put up stinkers, but he'll also put up big ones. This one's at home against Tennessee. He had a bad game against them earlier, though T.Y. likes to play a lot better at home. I like his chances for a big game here. And lastly, at tight end, I'm picking the one, the only, the coming back from injury, Greg Olsen against the New York Jets. I think they're going to start to integrate him heavily early, as he's going to be the Panthers' #1 target in this game. They're going to try to get him into rhythm as soon as possible. And I could see him targeted early and often, and Greg Olsen having a big game against the New York Jets. So, Rob, let's go ahead to you. Who do you like this week?
All right. I forget what yours was. I was going to comment on one of yours.
Matt Ryan, DeMarco Murray, T.Y. Hilton.
T.Y. Hilton. Well, DeMarco, I was facing him in many leagues. That's a really good pick for, and as a matter of fact, I'm taking him in daily fantasy this week. He's my top daily fantasy receiver because he plays well against weak defenses and at home. And he always scores a ton. He's always a top 10 receiver points in like 4 games. And this could be one of the 4 games. So I really like him. That was a really good pick. I like Cam Newton. I think we're seeing the old Cam Newton. I feel like the Panthers have finally let him play the way he's supposed to play, the way he knows how to play. And that is a tier 1 quarterback going up against the Jets. They a couple weeks ago looked great against the Dolphins, totally, in rhythm, in sync. I think that was the Kelvin Benjamin trading him away didn't seem to screw them up at all. He was able to find Funchess a couple times and some of the speedier receivers. Don't know how I like that long term, but slow them down. So I like Cam Newton, especially like you said, Olsen back gives them another target. I like Mark Ingram. It's like I didn't have to say.
I like the #3 running back this week.
Well, I do. Keep starting him. One of the concerns that's been coming up, he's been ceding a little bit more of the carries and work to Alvin Kamara as the season's gone on. Right now, I think they're both still against this defense too. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think they're both still really good plays. Mark Ingram, especially, I still think he's still up there, and I think he will be till the rest of the season. This matchup's great. I love him this week. I was originally going to go with AJ Green, but I'm changing it to Keenan Allen. I talked about it earlier. Really say more, but out of the slot, one of the best receivers in the league, coming off the best game, of the season, up against a really struggling Dallas Cowboys team. I think this is his week to shine once again, and he's moving into the top 10 right now on his way up. And another obvious candidate, I like Travis Kelce this week. The Buffalo Bills just seem to be forfeiting a lot of yards on offense, usually to the main target. You know, we had Keenan Allen, we had Michael Thomas made a bunch of big plays. Seems to be a theme here. The number one guy, which I know technically you could say it's Hill, but Kelce, very important part of that team. So I think they're going to target him a lot. I don't think the linebackers can match up with him, and I think he's going to have a great week. That's going to work well for the Chiefs going to Kelce. So, Joe, who do you love?
Well, I'm surprised Rob didn't take Russell Wilson, Todd Gurley, Antonio Brown, and my guys. Just kidding. Well, I started out making my list with Matt Ryan, and I eventually changed it to Cam Newton. But you guys talked about
So
getting Greg Olsen back is going to be a huge boon to his fantasy value, and he's been running the ball well lately. I think that continues against the Jets. In a game I expect the Panthers to win pretty handily. I went with Kareem Hunt as my running back that I love this week. You know, he's been held out of the end zone, it seems like, for forever. But against the Bills defense, it's kind of collapsed lately, especially against the run. I think he's a very good play this week. I think those touchdowns are going to trend much more towards the mean for a guy who's getting as many touches as he is. And my wide receiver this week was T.Y. Hilton. So, but I will say I also love Michael Thomas this week. Another guy whose touchdowns have been skewed kind of in a weird direction for as much work as he's getting. I think this is going to be a more competitive game than the Saints have been involved in lately, and I think they will have to pass more here. So I like his chances of making a trip to the end zone. And I love Vernon Davis this week. I love picking on the Giants whenever I can with the tight end, and he provides a great opportunity this week with Jordan Reed out, and Kirk Cousins is missing his usual check down buddy Chris Thompson, who's out for the season. I think Vernon Davis is going to get a lot of work here, and he's a good bet to score some points.
Well, Joe, I am glad to finally hear you say that you love Kareem Hunt. that has been a long time coming. So let's go ahead start on my hate so you guys don't steal those as well. My first one is going to be Matthew Stafford against Minnesota. This is just a tough matchup on a Thursday game. It just doesn't give me confidence. I'm going to stay away unless I don't have a better option. For running back, amazingly, I'm actually going to pick Jordan Howard. He's really the only offense they have, but against Philadelphia, he's not going to really be that much offense, as Philly is able to stop the run very well this year. And I think they're going to know that all that the Chicago can do is run the ball. So they're going to be really focused on stopping it. And so I just don't see Jordan Howard having that great of a game this week. For wide receiver, I'm going to go ahead and say Amari Cooper against Denver. This isn't really that much of a out there call because Amari Cooper does love to bust. But against Denver, that's especially likely considering he hasn't had very much success against them in the past. And lastly, I'm going to go against Cameron Brate against Atlanta. Cameron Brate has slowly but steadily been ceasing work to O.J. Howard, and he's starting to get more and more time on the bench and less catches and touchdowns. And so he's a guy that, as the season goes on, I think the confidence in him is going to be getting less and less in actually playing him. And so he is my bench if you can, bench a tight end of the week.
Yeah, Joe, we're just going to steal all yours. So my hate for this week is Big Ben Roethlisberger. And don't get me wrong, I think he has a chance to put up some nice points. It's kind of a hunch here. But my theory is the Packers just got shut out by the Ravens. And I see, you look at last week, while Pittsburgh did blow out the Titans, it was kind of interesting for a little while there when they were kind of hanging with them until they really broke the game loose late. the Steelers getting out ahead just early and just so early in the game, and them running the ball a lot more in the second half, leading for a big game for Le'Veon Bell. And I do think Ben has the opportunity, but I can easily see this going the other way and him getting, 12 early points and then just them running the ball. Kind of like what, the Saints did a few weeks ago against Buffalo. Just kept running the ball. So, that's my hate for this week. I don't love Todd Gurley as much this week. That's a big name that I'm dissing this week. We've talked about the Saints. They've been a lot better defensively, and Todd Gurley struggled to get going last week. Now, he did reach the end zone. You can't always be dependent on that. I think when Gurley goes up against better defenses, quite that top tier value this season. He's had a few bad ones, but whenever it's like a mediocre to bad defense, he just lights them up. So I'm off on him this week. I like him in the upcoming weeks, but I think this is going to be a very competitive game, like you said, Joe. And there may be some more passing, but we'll see. I'm tempering on him a little bit. DeAndre Hopkins, a guy who is one of the best receivers in the league, and is still doing good, even though Deshaun Watson's out. But the way I see it is the Ravens defense is playing very well. They found their stride again. They started off good, had that, awful Jacksonville game, just kind of up and down. I feel like they've kind of found the rhythm again. They've been good against the pass. So I think he could have a bit of a down week this week. I'm going to stay away from Hopkins. And I'm going with Zach Ertz at tight end. They didn't target him a lot. I'm thinking that the injury, he could still be, there could be some effects there. Maybe they're trying to ease him back a little bit. They have that huge lead right now in the division. Might want to go easy on him just so he can recover and look fully healthy. Obviously, you're starting him if you have him, and the Bears defense has been better than recent years. But, I'm not feeling him as the top tight end this week. I think there are better options. Joe, how many of them did we steal from you?
You stole none. I have to I picked on you a little bit. I have to apologize, Rob. You both love and hate a lot of the top guys. So, I don't like Dak Prescott this week. We've already talked about it. When he's been under pressure recently, he just hasn't played as well. And the recent defenses he's faced have been able to force him into some mistakes. He's facing a very good pass rush. Tyron Smith should be back for this game, but who knows? He could be forced to exit since he is questionable for this game. And that offense just isn't the same without Zeke and a healthy offensive line. It just looks completely different. They aren't the juggernaut that they were with all their pieces healthy. I don't like Jay Ajayi this week either. The Eagles are a heavy home favorite, and I do think they win pretty handily at home, but they just continue to spread the ball out to as many running backs as they can. It seems Kenyon Barner and Corey Clement are stealing snaps and touchdowns. It's just a really weird backfield there in Philadelphia where it's tough to find consistent value amongst any of those guys. LeGarrette Blount's still playing well for him.
Still relevant. That shocks me, Joe. That shocks me that he's still relevant.
Well, so is anyone who plays running back for the Eagles, except for Wendell Smallwood, apparently. I don't like Marvin Jones this week either. We talked about Stafford and his tough matchup. Marvin Jones probably has the toughest matchup of any pass catcher for the Detroit Lions, going up against Xavier Rhodes, who he probably will be shadowed by most of this game. And if a receiver is going to go off against the Vikings, it's been Golden Tate in recent years for the Lions. So I prefer him to Jones this week. And as always, I hate Eric Ebron, but he's not my tight end hate of the week. I'm down on Hunter Henry this week. it's a guy they just who has a really inconsistent role in that offense. And while I love the talent, I can't really figure out what his week to week contribution is going to be to your fantasy lineup.
Who's going to be sneaky? We're not going to steal your picks.
All right, I get to go first. All right.
Yep.
Yeah. I'll
My sneaky play of the week, a guy who did not start last week, Tyrod Taylor for those Buffalo Bills. This is a really leaky Kansas City defense. I like Tyrod's matchup this week. I think he's going to be able to rack up, 17, 18, maybe 20, even 20 fantasy points in 4-point passing touchdown leagues. I think he's a very good play. Now that the Peterman reality tour is officially over. I had to sneak that joke in one more time. Devontae Booker is maybe a deeper league guy to think about. He led all Broncos running backs in snaps last week. I think he's a guy who's slowly getting more work, even though that this isn't a great offense, and they're going to be starting Paxton Lynch, I think, for the first time this week. But all year we've been hearing the announcers say, well, Vance Joseph was talking to us, in our meeting, and they love Devontae Booker. Devontae Booker is the greatest thing that's ever happened. So I think we finally saw that a little bit last week, and he's a guy that I think could rack up some value against a very, very, very bad Oakland Raiders defense. I like Josh Doxson as a sneaky play. I think we saw him play his best game of his career last week, racking up 80 total yards. Made some tough contested catches, the kind of catches that they drafted him to make, those tough jump ball contested catches. And I think he's finally coming into his own a little bit, and he should see more and more opportunities as the season goes along, even though the Redskins don't really have much to play for at this point. And Tyler Croft. I get to pick on the Browns and the Giants all in one episode. It's perfect. So I'm going with him. I think he scored 2 touchdowns the last time he played the Cleveland Browns. I think he has a chance to get at least one this week. I think he's a very good sneaky play.
All right, for me, I'm going to pick all names that people hate and that are like the unsexiest names in fantasy football. And we'll see your guys' reactions to how much you like him or hate him. All right, number 1, let's go ahead and start with the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton against Cleveland. He actually had a really good game against Cleveland last time. I could just see that happening again, as Cleveland's just not a very good team. And they're actually relatively hard to run against, so I think they're going to have to throw. And I could also see A.J. Green having a big game, but if A.J. Green has a big game, that usually means Andy Dalton's doing at least halfway decent. Next up, this is going to be a really interesting pick, guys, but I'm going to go with LeGarrette Blount. I know, it's absolutely crazy.
I like it.
Because Jay Ajayi has taken the top job. But here's the thing. They said LeGarrette Blount's still the starter, and I believe them. I think LeGarrette Blount's still the starter. He got more work last game, even though Jay Ajayi had the bye week, and an extra week to actually learn the playbook. I really do think that they want Blount to get most of the carries, and Ajayi just coming in to get 8 to 10. It's crazy, but I think Blount could have around 14 carries against Chicago, and that will give him enough fantasy value to at least be, a running back 2 flex, running back 3 type starter. Next up, we got Kenny Stills against New England. As everyone knows, Matt Moore is going to be starting since Jay Cutler is out in the concussion protocol. And if there's one thing that Matt Moore loves, it's Kenny Stills, and he loves it a lot. Every game that Matt Moore has been in, Kenny Stills has had a nice game as well. So they have some type of connection. Let's go ahead and write it. Kenny Stills against the New England defense. And lastly, let's go with the old man that only has a job due to injury, Vernon Davis at tight end against New York Giants. This one's a little bit more, I guess, sexier than the other names. But, he's still really old. But here's the thing. The Giants are bad against tight ends. They're bad. Vernon Davis, he's actually a pretty good tight end. So with Chris Thompson being injured and their wide receivers not being that great besides Josh Doxson, I think Vernon Davis could have a very big game. Rob, on to you.
Totally agree. That LeGarrette Blount take is really good. He still has that goal line possibility too. So I thought he was, droppable, and he's quite what he used to be with Ajayi there, but he's still, you have to think about it. You have to consider it. So for sneaky quarterbacks, I like Josh McCown this week. He struggled a little bit as of late, but he's having a pretty good year. And I think Carolina is going to smoke them early. And Jay Cutler was able to put up, I think, 14 points against the Panthers. I think McCown can do better than Jay Cutler. In garbage time, playing from behind. They've got some good receivers there. I think the Panthers kind of play off a little bit. And he can get his points. I think it's a good value this week. Even though it's a great defense, I think he can get his points. He's been very consistent this year. On the other side of the ball, Schroeder, me and Joe were right about that Jonathan Stewart bet. So I couldn't believe that. I could.
Oh man,
he looked good. He looked good. And,
yeah, he was killing. He was killing in that game. He was roughing off chunk yardage.
And the thing is, the Panthers O-line seemed to find something there against the Dolphins defensive line, and I see that happening. This is a good Jets run defense, but I think that they're going to be up a lot, and I think they're going to score. I think he could see some goal line carries. I'm not projecting him to have a monster game, but I do think he can see the end zone. He can pick up some yards. He might be a good play. He's still going very cheap in most leagues, as he's seen as more of the number 2 back now that McCaffrey's getting more carries. But I still think he's a good play this week. I like him as a sleeper. I'm going with another Panther here, actually. This one's kind of shorter. This is like your Charles Sims pick. Which, by the way, I called you out as a genius on the last show. That was genius. Russell Shepard. Yes, I just said Russell Shepard. That's my sneaky play. Okay, he got a lot more involved 2 weeks ago in that Dolphins game. Had about 5 catches. They saw the most targets he's ever seen. Now, Kelvin Benjamin's gone. Coming back, but much like Zach Ertz, I think take players a game or two to get back in the swing of things, especially after a long injury like that. We saw Jordy Nelson off the ACL, took him a few games. I think they might ease Olsen into this. And with Curtis Samuel's status, being injured, I think this could be Russell Shepard's game to be that speedy guy who can get you. I don't think it's Clay. He got cut by the Bills, so what does that tell you? I was like, why is he on their team? But anyways, I like Russell Shepard this week. It's a dart throw on your daily fantasy, but he is the league minimum, and there could be some real opportunities for him. And Joe, I disagree with you. I'm going with Hunter Henry as my sneaky play. His value, it's very hit or miss with him, his role in that offense. But I do think the matchup and the momentum for the Chargers right now, the Los Angeles Chargers, is headed in the right direction. And Dallas's secondary has been bad. They've gotten eaten up week after week. So, yeah, Hunter Henry as my sleeper pick of the week. I think he's going at a good value. And, tight end is always just a wasteland right now, much like the Lincoln Park song. And yeah, I'm going with Hunter Henry. Respectfully disagree, Joe.
All right, so there we go.
I don't know if we're making that embarrassing bet thing this week on that, but we'll wait till it's a real good one. So
yeah, we'll have to wait till it's a good one. Well, again, guys, we do appreciate you listening in. I do want to wish from all of us here at Fantasy Football Anonymous a happy Thanksgiving to you all. Have a good Turkey Day. Eat lots of food. And watch all 3 games since you're addicted. Yeah. If you go ahead, please like our video below and subscribe. And you can also email us at ffanonymous3@gmail.com or shoot us a tweet at ffanonymous3 as well. Again, for me, Joe, and Rob, have a happy Thanksgiving, and remember to stay addicted.